Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the podcast and welcome to this first week of December. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I hope you are just in it. I clearly am so delighted that it's December. I feel like this month lets everybody in on what my life feels like every day. I love that this month is a total permission slip to a ridiculous number of parties and gatherings and celebrations. It's filled with twinkly lights. There are presents. There is attention to detail and beauty in the process of wrapping gifts and beautiful bows. And then there's baking, so much baking. It's so fun. It smells good in here. The pantry is overflowing with chocolates and candy canes and all sorts of things, candied ginger, all sorts of beautiful things that are being incorporated to then be packaged, to then be gifted, to then be enjoyed. It's a time of reflection. It's a time of intention setting for the year ahead. If I were a month, I would be December. And because I love this time of year so much, and because the life I've created in moving from California to New England and living in a fabulous antique house and being a bed and breakfast and all the things, it's such a beautiful, easy time to invite you in here with me. So I created this very fun bundle of workshops called Entertaining with Ease. And Sunday was the first one, which was how to host a tree trimming party. Later today is our holiday food gifts workshop. Next Wednesday is how to host a cookie exchange. And the following Wednesday is how to host a New Year's Eve party. I do all of these virtually with you. You can cook with me in real time. You can watch them and peruse the recipes and save them for the weekend or whenever you want to put things together. But if this is not the year for you to throw parties, please don't make that also the year to not have these workshops. If you wait until the year you're ready to throw the party, then you won't have time to watch the workshop because you'll be throwing parties. So in the art, in the spirit of saying yes to the woman we're becoming, if you want to be the woman who hosts a party over the holidays, I encourage you to pick up this bundle or pick up one of the workshops that most appeals to you and have that in your repertoire, have that in your toolbox so that you're ready next holiday season. Also, so that you are ready for the next season, I have 2 more spots left in our December 4-pack of one-on-one coaching sessions. This is for December only. It's 4 weeks. It is holding space for the woman that you are becoming. It is identifying who you want to be, how you want to close out 2025 and prepare your heart and your mindset and your body for 2026. It's a 1 year, it's a beginning, it's the year of the fire horse, which hasn't even happened since 1966. That is also not till the Lunar New Year. So you've got time for that. No worries. But this is just such a beautiful time that I know it is busy, but don't make that too busy to take care of yourself. It would be like putting all the things in your car to travel through the woods to grandmother's house, but not have gas. You need to take care of yourself and fuel yourself to be the person that this season in our culture invites you or requires you to be. So, those are the things I would love to have you join me in my kitchen or in this beautiful coaching container. And speaking of fabulous coaches, today's guest is such a fabulous human. You are going to love her. We have Rebecca Arnold with us. And if you were a part of our Say Yes Summit in November, you witnessed her beautiful magic as she taught us how to enter the season with ease. She is an author, a certified executive leadership coach, and the founder of Root Coaching and Consulting, a holistic leadership coaching firm for ambitious professionals in high pressure careers. She is an attorney by training and through her coaching has worked with over 100 leaders in organizations such as Google and Harvard, among many others in the fields of academia, medicine, law, K through 12 education, and social impact organizations. Her sweet spot is coaching geniuses whose challenges lie beyond their intellect. Her first book, an instant national bestseller, The Rooted Renegade, Transform Within, Disrupt the Status Quo, and Unleash Your Legacy, shares the path to holistic success for ambitious professionals to live and lead more joyfully. The Rooted Renegade is a Forward Indies Book of the Year finalist and received a gold medal from the Independent Publishers of New England. I cannot wait to share this gorgeous, inspiring conversation with Rebecca Arnold. Rebecca, I can already tell this is going to be a fantastic conversation. I'm so delighted to meet you. Thank you for being here.
I can't wait to dive in with you.
It's so fun. I am obsessed with this podcast already. I think it's so fun that I'm making all of these fabulous friends. It feels like speed dating in a way that it's like, oh, I saw your bio. I said yes. I swiped whatever way you're supposed to swipe for these things. I don't know. I said yes. And then I get these beautiful conversations with people that remain my friends and I didn't even have to leave my house. It's legit.
Well, you were giving the dating apps a run for their money.
Yes, yes, yes. It's so good. So thank you again for being here. And I'm so eager to know, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
I love this question, and I love hearing the variety of answers you give to this question.
Thank you.
It's one of those questions that like brings the conversation immediately to a different level. And as a coach, I'm always looking for those and using those with my clients. So we talked before we started about how I'm sending my eldest to college, and they'll be finishing their first semester when people are listening to this. And so I'm really walking this line of kind of taking a pause and acknowledging and honoring the journey that we have had so far together. And both for them and also for me as a mom, I just decided with my husband to take a day at a spa in celebration of what we had done together to get our kiddo to this point. And during the massage, in a massage, you kind of drop into this almost meditative state. And so
Yes.
I thought of a memory from each year of their life so far as I was having this massage. And it just felt like such a beautiful acknowledgement of where they started and this amazing journey they have been on to discover who they are. And then for myself as a mom, the various iterations that I have been through as a business owner, where I've come from, like, it's just all of it sort of encapsulated in that. So that's really where I am leaning into right now and acknowledging kind of where I am and staying in it instead of rushing through it or on to the next thing, but really resting in that place.
Oh my word. I love you. It's so good. I mean, it's not journal prompts, but meditative prompts for your next massage. What a beautiful, holistic use of a time and experience that some people, not us, some people might find like they have to justify because
Mm.
they typically occur in the middle of the day. They
Mm-hmm.
typically, I mean, they do require us lying down and shutting
Mm-hmm.
our eyes in non-work clothes in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the day,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds really dreamy, but doesn't always make it to the physical practice
Yeah.
because of the demands of our life. So
Mm-hmm.
meditating every day is very important to me. It's a part of my morning practice. So if I just add massage to that morning practice, like I mean, tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself to get yourself into the massage space. But I love how brilliantly and effectively you chose to use that time of relaxation and integrated reflection and rejoicing in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And we all have these moments, right? Like it might not be as dramatic as on the massage table, but just taking a walk and thinking about what you want to think about, not what your brain is defaulting to, but bringing intention to it and prioritizing the things that are important to you, sitting with a cup of tea and making it your time instead of going through your list for everybody else. I find, especially with women I work with, I was just talking to a client about this yesterday, that we're so used to prioritizing other people's needs and wants instead of our own that we lose the connection with ourself and our own ability to hear what we want. And
Mhm.
it takes some real intention to recreate that connection of listening internally and asking, what do I want? And what does it feel like physically to want?
Yes. Yes. And giving yourself permission
Mm-hmm.
to want and allowing yourself, that has definitely been my trajectory over the 5 years. And obviously, if I knew what was going to be involved in this awakening, this personal development, spiritual development journey,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think I would have chosen it, but it changed everything. And of course, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not of course, gratefully, I'm so excited about the woman that I'm becoming, but very little stayed the same
Mm-hmm.
once I changed.
Mm-hmm.
Once I didn't even know, I wasn't mad before. I just thought that was the only option. And then when I was invited into my own agency and my own allowing of desire, I always knew what I want. I just thought I wasn't allowed to have it. And so
Mm-hmm.
giving myself permission to have the life that I desire and invite other people into that beautiful opportunity for us to collectively rise, and then having that invitation not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So that's resulted in a divorce and also resulted in him now living his very best life.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone is winning for
Yeah.
sure. And it's no joke though. Like it sounds really
Yeah.
lovely. I'm only available for what delights me. Well, that's really beautiful. And sometimes it doesn't delight other people, and we get to bless and release
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. So, how are you helping your clients not only hear their own voice,
Mm-hmm.
but to trust it and then take the inspired action and
Yeah.
then trust that? without having me
Yeah.
move in with them.
Well, it's funny because a lot of my clients over time they'll say, I now have a Rebecca voice in my head.
Ooh,
And
I
I'm like,
love
the
that.
goal is to replace that with your own. You can borrow mine for a little while,
Right.
but you
Exactly.
want those kinds of things to be said in your own voice. So it's interesting. I think we often skip over the first step, which
Mm,
is paying attention to the wanting. So I start with my clients at the very beginning sometimes in this inquiry with if you know you want yogurt for lunch, how do you know you want it? Like we'll start with something very simple like that. Or you want to wear a black shirt today. What does it feel like to want to wear a black shirt?
right.
And it sounds so simple, but oftentimes it's not. People say, I have no idea. It just sort of like pops in my head. And then I just do that thing. Or I think I should have yogurt for lunch. That's a good choice.
Right.
And so once people start to understand the physicality of wanting, then it becomes easier to check in along the way with do I want this? Do I not want this? How do I know? And then when it gets into the trickier, like now I know what I want, but I'm encountering resistance around the things I know I want, then we can dig into what is that block? And sometimes it's I'm now understanding more of the societal messages and the tension of my own inner wanting with what society is telling me. Sometimes it is, I've been on this path. I work with a lot of very high performers in fields that have taken a lot of training, and they'll get to a point where there's no more predetermined path. They're at the end of the
Mm,
path, and now
sure.
the choice is all theirs, and they don't know what to do with it. And so then we're looking at okay, well, if the expectations drop away and you're fully in the embodied experience of what you're wanting, for many people actually it just becomes a lot easier.
Mhm.
Then they just kind of there's a natural flow then to the next action and the action after that. So it's sort of a virtuous cycle once they get to that point.
Right. I love
Yeah.
this transition from, well, to deliberately creating their
Hmm.
experience rather than just creation by default.
Yeah.
And we know that mastery comes from repetition. So it does take a lot of practice. And I love your suggestion of just what do you want to wear today? And how do you know that's what you want to wear? Because that's
Hmm.
something that you can practice every day. You can
Yep.
have the menu, you can shut your eyes and ask your body what it wants and open your eyes and see it just it takes practice and
Hmm.
this intentionality
Hmm.
to really retrain ourselves on how to make decisions.
Yeah. And we, most of us operate from the neck up. We pay very little attention to the neck down, especially for people who are just more intellectually oriented. And I think as a society in the Western cultures, we place a primacy on logic and the brain and all of that. And there's so much wisdom below the neck in
Right.
terms of like from what you want to eat to what you want to do with your life to who you want to become.
Mhm.
And for many of my clients, the tension point is kind of they've reached the edge of their intellect. Their challenge lies beyond their intellect, right? Which for
Mm,
most of us, that's what it's about, right? If we could think our way to a solution, we could do that on our own, but it has nothing to do with that. And so this like reawakening our relationship with the wisdom of our bodies to me has been transformative for myself, but then also for my clients who initially looked at me like, what are you even talking about right now?
right, right. Because I was raised as an emotional person. I cry very easily.
Hmm.
But at the same time, the message was don't trust that because
Hmm.
that's actually your emotion is defying you. Like it's that's a break in your credibility. So
Mm.
be very, keep that on the down low. And then I was in a marriage that also emotions are very reckless and cannot be trusted and they're scary and I just didn't realize that two people could have two different ways of seeing one thing. Like
Mhm.
as the firstborn of parents of German descent, and like it was just whatever they said, that
Mhm.
was how it was. So I was just
Yeah.
raised as the good girl and a rule follower. And so to also be just to think that if I was having a different experience than whoever the boss of the house was,
Mhm.
that meant I was wrong. Again, I wasn't mad.
Mhm.
It wasn't mean. It was just I just thought that was the way it was. So I
Right.
wasn't mad about it until I was, and then it
Mhm.
wasn't that way anymore. So,
Yeah.
but I think it's so fascinating just in this understanding that some people are more inclined to logic,
Mhm.
but it still doesn't deny that their body has information for them.
Yeah.
But other people are like, I'm in my human design, I'm a generator and I have
Mhm.
emotional authority. So actually, my emotions are how I find out what's right
Mhm.
for me, what's important to me. So just this understanding that, of course, it makes sense, but when we actually integrate it, that we are different and we do have the opportunity to use the skills that our body and our personality are made to communicate with,
Mhm.
and to trust it even if it's different than what society says or your family of origin or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I work with a lot of folks who are, I mean, I work with physicists and chemists and
Yeah.
physicians and attorneys and people who are very logically oriented. And
Mhm.
so oftentimes what I find is like, I meet my clients where they're at. And so we'll look at mindsets from a logic perspective. We'll look at productivity from a logic perspective. And then there's almost like a space that starts to open. And then we can get into kind of like what's beneath all of that, that is the opportunity for more transformative growth and getting beyond plateaus and all of that good stuff.
Right, because even if you ask someone, well, how does that feel? And then their response is, well, I think it's that, like, no, no,
Yeah.
not what you think. How do you feel about that? And it feels like it feels so elementary, but
Hmm.
you're learning a new language because you
Yeah.
have this habit of, especially as you mentioned, when these occupations, these professions that have such a long on ramp and
Hmm.
track, that once you take the bar or you finish your residency after, I mean, you've been in med school, like now learning this for 12 years, and now
Hmm.
you're like, oh, okay, now what am I going to do? People have been telling you what to do for so
Right.
long that now I can imagine how that can be a little unnerving.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think what's challenging too with folks who have a really long on ramp like that is that when they have an experience that doesn't match their expectation. So when you start as an academic, you're in undergrad thinking like I might be interested in sociology, and then you go through graduate school, you do a postdoc, you get on the job market, then you get tenure. That's decades, a decade and a half or
Yeah.
more. Who you were at the beginning of that is very different than who you are at the
Oh,
end.
let's
And
hope so.
so, yes. And so then when the experience of getting to the end of that doesn't match what you had imagined, it creates a huge existential crisis.
Right.
And so for my physician clients, they'll say things like, I was hoping to have these deep connections with my patients, but that's not
Mm,
the reality of day to day. But it had
right.
been the thing they were holding on to through all of their training and all the difficulties and hardships and all of that. And so it's finding where their own agency is within systems so that they can start to prioritize what really matters to them and make the shifts that they can within their kind of zone of control. But if you bypass that and just sort of like, well, I'm just going to go through the day to day and just be the physician, to do the best I can,
Right.
eventually
Play the
that's a
game.
recipe for burnout. Yeah.
Mhm.
And just not having the satisfaction that you deserve.
Right.
There's many versions of that, all in many different career fields.
Right. Even for the stay-at-home mom
Totally.
who
Yes.
then her kids go to college and she's like, oh, just like being in all of these programs, someone else was informing how you spent your day
Yeah.
and what was on your mind. And now having an open field and a blank canvas and all of that stuff can be really exciting unless it's terrifying.
Hmm.
What are you seeing in those transitions and how are you? I mean, I feel like there are 1,000 different questions and there's one answer, right? Like
Mm.
what you're doing with your clients, it doesn't matter. I mean, you work with high performers and these really high profile executives, but it's also the same thing. Those same
Yeah.
practices can help for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've moved to a new town or you're just in this new life stage
Hmm.
and you have this realization that oh, I want more
Hmm.
and I don't have any idea where to start.
Yeah. So it's funny. I was just talking to someone before we got on together about my book, and she was going through a really tough time when she was reading it. And she was like, it felt like you were speaking to me and helping through this. But what she
Mm.
said is that she's like, the thing I was so struck by is that all of this is what's inside. And this goes to your question too. It's like whether you are a stay-at-home mom, a physician, an attorney, a janitor, a school teacher, you are with yourself all day long. And so
Mhm.
if you are constantly berating yourself or second guessing yourself or unable to make a decision that is aligned for you, that goes with you whether you're at work or home or in your bed lying
Yeah.
awake. And so for many of my clients, it's actually a matter of stripping away sometimes the external circumstance and getting back to what is happening inside of you.
Mm.
Like, what does that sound like? What does it look like? So that we can get at some of the more baseline skills around self compassion, listening to your own internal voice, cultivating an internal voice that is an ally instead of an enemy,
Mm. Hmm.
starting to ask yourself some questions regularly that are like, what do I want today? What do I want for myself? What do I want for my family? And kind of, you'll notice like my voice dropped a little bit. There's a different tenor of this that is coming inside and slowing down and coming back to kind of the piece that is accessible in here when we do a little bit of work. It actually is not that hard.
Right.
The skills or the tools, it's just a matter of practicing them.
Right. But again, once you see a result,
Yeah,
you're far more motivated to practice.
totally. Yeah. So I'll say, so it's interesting. I did a lot of talks during the pandemic for law firms about how the heck to work and parent your kid and homeschool all at the same time.
Oh my gosh. I wish I was a lawyer so I was eligible for that information.
But it was so interesting because one of the things that I talked to them about is like, what are you saying to yourself during the day? Like, and just trying to capture what are some of those refrains. And I offered this just like a mantra or phrase, which is, this is hard and I'm doing my best.
Mm.
And I was like, just notice how that lands in your body. And what was amazing to me is that kind of across the board, and I did this talk many different times, people had the very same experience, which was like a settling, like a dropping in and a settling and a reassurance. And that's kind of the feeling that I think most of us are after most of the time when we're out there doing the things and like trying to do more, have more, be more, all of that stuff
Yes.
is this feeling of settled. I am enough. My life looks the way that I want it to. I am showing up the way that I want to. And it's actually quite calming. And like that calm within, then of course, kind of cascades out.
Yes. Can you speak to the importance of the two parts of that mantra? Because I can see where I will say, I'm doing the best I can with the tools I have. They're
Hmm.
doing the best they can with the tools they have. But this precursor to this is hard
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I'm doing my best.
Hmm.
Can you speak to the importance of those two pieces,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah. So the first is acknowledging the external circumstance. Sometimes we like make up a lot of stories about things like this is
Sometimes.
about the other person. I didn't, there's just a lot of drama.
Mhm.
And what was the horrible gift of the pandemic is that it was a common experience for many, many people. And so to acknowledge how hard it was,
Mhm.
it's people were in different circumstances in their individual lives, but the global and kind of national circumstance was the same.
Yeah.
And so acknowledging the hardness of the circumstance was like flattening, I guess, like a
Yes. Leveling.
almost, yeah, leveling. Yes. And it's not complicated, right? Like it's not, I'm not making a lot of narrative and story about it. It's just like I'm saying it's hard. One of your guests that I was listening to recently was talking about the energy of words.
Mm.
And there's something about the pitch that we say things with. So if I'm like, this is hard, this is
Right.
hard. So is lands physically really differently than
Mhm.
this is hard.
Oh my gosh, that gave me chills.
Yeah. And how we speak to ourselves. So if you imagine saying, this is hard to yourself like 15 times a day, you're going to feel pretty crappy. If you instead say, this is hard,
Yeah, it's a hug.
it is. It's like I felt my heart like settling a bit.
Mhm.
And then if you add, I'm doing my best, it's acknowledging the range of what's available. Like
Totally.
my best today looks totally different than my best tomorrow. And my best at 10 a.m. looks different than my best at 2 p.m.
Yep,
And so
exactly.
there's many of us and many of my clients wrestle with perfectionism. And part of the struggle there is acknowledging that good enough today or best today does not look the same every day. And it's like really connecting with inside what's enough today.
Mm.
And so this is hard, I'm doing my best acknowledges that piece of it, like our humanity within that and our capacity within that is variable.
Right.
And so I've seen kind of the impact of that kind of practice. And people talk a lot about mantras, and I think mantras are great
Mhm.
when they land for people and are used the right way. And
Mhm.
what I mean by that is it's different to say, like, I am grateful for what I have.
Right.
And there's a performative aspect of that, right?
Yeah.
Versus selecting a mantra that lands for you physically. And that can be really different from person to person. That's totally fine. It's by design, right?
Right.
There's also a beautiful tip that a friend of mine shared about when you have a mantra, because words have energy, if you say the mantra, if you emphasize a different word in the mantra each time you say it to yourself, it lands
Ooh.
differently. So if
Oh,
you say,
interesting.
this is hard and I'm doing my best,
Yeah.
this is hard and I'm doing my best. Each version of that is different.
Right.
And so playing with kind of the version that for you is giving you kind of the nourishment that you need in the moment,
That's so
it is
good.
really supportive.
I love that. And I love even in that mantra, the choice to use the word and instead of the word but
Uh-huh.
is everything is so precise and intentional. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's effective.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're
Yeah.
taking somebody else's mantra of, if somebody, so my personal mantra is that I'm only available for what delights me. And I have recently come up against a growth edge around
Mm-hmm.
that mantra because I had a June that I reached I over capacity of
Mm.
delightful things that became very undelightful.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And and someone said to me that I actually interviewed her for the podcast, and she was talking about, she's like, I see, she pulled a card for me, which these are all things that are new as well, but she's like,
Mm.
oh, this is the whatever of wands or something. And she's like, he has so many wands in his hands He can't see where he's going, and he can't see that his shoe is untied.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a this is saying there's you're on the brink of overwhelm. And I was like, what? That no, I'm there were some only a few tolerated emotions in my house growing up. So happy was
Uh-huh.
one,
Yep.
but we were not allowed to be bored.
Mm-hmm.
We were not allowed to be depressed. That's other people that we feel compassion for, but not us. And we weren't allowed to be stressed. So
Mm-hmm.
the idea of being stressed or overwhelmed, I immediately feel triggered by those words. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm doing it wrong. Or someone
Mm-hmm.
is accusing me of a crime or something, which of course elicits stress and overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
Yeah.
point of it. But it was so fascinating to realize that I could be overwhelmed by delightful things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just this pendulum of, going from compliance to defiance, but
Yeah.
reaching alliance in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
which Gina DeVee talks about in her book, The Audacity to Be Queen, of just finding this middle ground. But you can't just land an
Mm-hmm.
alliance. Like you test it. It's like, you have to overeat to know what the right amount of food is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have to overdrink to know what the right amount of
Mm-hmm.
beverage is. You
Mm-hmm.
have to overwork to know what the right amount of labor is. And it's just this practice, which
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your intention in setting the mantra, which is what made me tell that whole long story, was that someone taking on my mantra and expecting the same result, like we have to put our own spin on it. And even if those words resonate, using the practice, like you said, of emphasizing a different word in the mantra and then find out which one lands for you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in that day.
Right. And notice that this whole conversation is predicated, right, on us recognizing what lands. That's our own awareness of our physicality and something that many people don't even have access to and is a skill that needs to be developed over time.
Right. It's interesting you said that they don't have access to it, but it all like because they're not in practice, because they're really the only ones that have access to it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I choose a word for the year,
Mm-hmm.
and 2022, my word was aligned. And I was obviously drawn to the word and fascinated by the idea of it and had no idea what that was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Yeah.
the year I decided to complete my marriage. That was the year I completed a lot of things in
Mm-hmm.
that year. The word decision means to cut, right? So that's what that word was for me. It
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to become unavailable for what wasn't serving me and
Mm-hmm.
to reevaluate and recalibrate what my day to day needed to look like in support of the woman I'm becoming
Mm-hmm.
rather than the woman that I'd been practicing and being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love how these shifts can happen in a moment. These radical shifts can happen in the moment. It's just
Right.
the moment you decided to choose that word, set into motion all of these shifts. And I think we often tell ourselves this story that we have to wait till New Year or the beginning of the school year or till I'm X age without recognizing that like every moment actually is an opportunity to shift your trajectory if you want to, right? You don't have to, but if you want to, that's available to you. And so there's so much power in that.
And it's interesting too, because I feel like sometimes we have this resistance to starting something that
Mm-hmm.
feels hard because it's unfamiliar or uncomfortable without the realization that the starting is just day one and you have to keep doing it. So,
Mm-hmm.
Even as silly as, for the entrepreneur that is nervous about being visible on social, it's an alignment for them, but they just are uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And they think, oh my gosh, I can't do an Instagram live. I have to have a blowout and I need my makeup done and I better get Botox and all these things. And it's like, okay, you realize you have to go live tomorrow too, and the next
Hmm.
day, and the next
Yeah.
day, so this waiting until all the stars align before you start is
Hmm.
a narrative that's not serving you either.
Yeah. Well, it's a version of self-sabotage, right? Because like
Totally.
telling yourself you're going to need a blowout before you go become visible is just your fear of your own visibility manifesting as a blowout.
Right.
So just being aware of how you're, and a practice I love is just like lovingly telling that yourself. So in that example, be like, I'm wanting to schedule a blowout because I'm self-sabotaging. Okay, that's what's happening here, right? There doesn't have to be any shame or judgment associated with it. It's just acknowledging what is so that you can look at it. Because we just bypass what we're doing all the time instead of just bringing it into our consciousness.
How are you helping your clients implement these practices in their day already feels so full, and
Yeah,
now I have to think about everything I want. Oh my gosh. I
yeah.
think of, we were talking about parenting, and you having that beautiful reflection on the massage table is still, it's so inspiring. And I think I only have one daughter and she's 11,
Hmm.
and parenting takes all day long every day.
Yeah, yeah,
Conscious parenting takes like 8 days every day. So
yes.
how, it can feel like, even perhaps for your clients and for the listeners, how can I implement all of these things that are supposed to like make my life so elevated when I don't even have time to live this life that is not pleasurable?
Hmm. What a great question.
Thank you.
And thank you for raising that. So
I'm just a channel. I I don't know what's going to
keep
come until it
channeling, girl.
comes. So I listen to my own podcast because I'm like, oh, that was interesting.
So I love that because it's such a perfectionist framing, right? It's like, in order to be a conscious parent, I must do it 24 hours a day for 8 hours within the same 24-hour block.
And it require her never to need a therapy.
Yeah, right. Or I'll blame myself and feel horrible about the job I did and all of that stuff, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
it all feeds on itself. And so with my clients, we look at these like micro opportunities. So that can look like many of my clients get stuck in email loops, right? Where they're just constantly checking their email because of the stress of what's waiting there. A practice to just get grounded before email is simply taking a breath and feeling your feet on the floor before you look at your email.
Mm-hmm.
That takes no time, right? That's a very easy practice. Asking yourself, what do I want for lunch today? Takes no time. I work a lot with my clients on productivity, actually, which cracks me up because I have ADHD and I am like not a productivity guru. But I think because I have ADHD, I have found things that really support me that happen to help with a lot for a lot of folks. But one of the practices I use for people are called energy aligned to-do lists. So
Ooh.
that looks like you make a to-do list that's broken down by things I do when I have zero energy. I'm on the floor. It's like 2 p.m. What I do when I'm kind of in the mid zone, like I've got some things cooking, but I'm like not fully there. And then tasks for when I'm locked in. So
Mm.
that all the person has to do is ask themselves, like, what kind of energy am I feeling right now? And then, oh, here's my list for that. And so that's not what do I want to do with my life over the next 20 years.
Right.
That's in this moment, how am I feeling and what is aligned with that that I can tackle right now to make the most of where I'm at in this moment. So a lot of the practices, and there are tons in my book, are very simple and practical. My clients have no time, right? So it's having a practice where I'm telling people you need to journal an hour a day is never going to happen. And people are going to try and fail and then feel bad.
Right.
So I never want to set someone up for a situation like that. And so all of these practices are very simple. Saying to yourself, this is hard and I'm doing my best when you're stressed takes no time at all.
Right.
One of the other practices I love is we often feel like we're stuck in the mood state we're in the moment, or the emotions we're in the moment. And
Mm.
this is not to bypass our feelings, all that, right? We can, if we're upset about something, we can be upset, of course. And there often comes a point where we're like, I'm just kind of like done being upset or being angry or being
Right.
whatever, or just kind of blah. We can change how we're feeling in any moment. And I know that sounds like a little magical and radical. However,
I'm only here for the radical magic. Bring it.
it's very simple. And this again relies in part on your ability to feel things in your body, right? So,
Right.
like, I walk through this in my book, how to like restart that relationship if you've lost it. But if you are feeling, I'm a little blah today, it's kind of gross outside, my back is hurting a little bit. I'm like, eh. So, what I have the opportunity to do when I catch myself and I'm like, I'm feeling really blah and crappy and I don't want to feel like that, I can call up a moment where I felt jubilant. So at my book
Mm.
launch, it was like this beautiful hug from all these people I adored who showed up. When I think about that moment and how I felt in that room, I noticed my stomach getting like activated in a good way. I feel a little more bouncing in my body. I'm smiling. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling completely different than I felt
Right.
45 seconds before. And this is something that's just hardwired into us.
Right.
And so that simple practice of, if you're in a transition, you've moved to a new city, you're feeling disconnected and you're feeling afraid of reaching out and connecting with other people, calling to mind an example of a time where you felt really connected to people and how good that was and how like soul filling that was, feeling that in your body and allowing for that, and then going out to a coffee shop and making conversation. You'll be so much better positioned than if you go in dreading it, right? So those are just a couple examples of some quick practices that are really very easy to implement once you know them.
I love that. And it's so true. We know the opposite is true.
Totally.
I retell a story of an undesirable experience, like everything inside of me is clenched, and I'm like,
Yep.
halfway through, I'm like, why am I telling this story? Like, I don't even,
I'm stuck in
don't
this.
ask me what about my neighbor. Like, like I don't
Hmm.
want to think about that. And
Hmm.
my logic would say, well, that's avoidant. And you like, no, it's not. It's self care. And it
Hmm.
doesn't help to relive something that happened a long time ago. It's just activating in my body.
Yep.
What is helpful is to relive those beautiful moments of connection. Like you said,
Hmm.
it's so great. My personal happy place is I am in a beautiful space, hotel lobby, fabulous bar. It's actually Bemelman's bar at the Carnegie Hotel. And I've just received my fabulous beverage of choice, and the pianist has just begun. And I I have been in that room four
Hmm.
times in my life, but I go to that room all the time. Even when I chose the intro music for this podcast, it was
Hmm.
okay. I am channeling my happy place. I love beginnings. I love, like, ooh, it's my first drink. I can have it
Hmm.
last as long as I want. And this fabulous person is making beautiful music, and he's at work right now. And I'm in this gorgeous place with all these people that are so committed to my experience.
Hmm.
We're all winning. And I
Totally.
can recall that with such clarity because I was just in that room 5 days ago,
Hmm.
and it felt exactly like I wanted it to feel because I created that,
Hmm.
right? Because I also felt it in another room 3 days ago, and I could feel it today right here because I am the deliberate creator of my experience.
Hmm.
And when I realized that I'm the default creator of my experience, like I did that too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this all of these practices that you're sharing so generously in the book and so beautifully with your clients are really, you're holding up a mirror to them and reminding them how powerful they are, and that we really do have all of the answers and the strategy and the tools in us,
Mm-hmm.
and you're helping unlock that door.
Yeah, at a moment when we're told it's outside of us all the
Right.
time, right? And
All
that's
the
what's
time.
countercultural. And what I love about it is that it costs nothing, it takes no time, right? It's like all of this, and like this is like the secret that billion-dollar industries don't want us
Yeah.
to know, right? That it's
Right.
you don't need all that stuff, and it's all a question of unlocking what is already there waiting for you.
Just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. You've referenced the book so many times. Please tell us how we can get our own copy. Tell us everything you want us to know.
Thank you. So it's called The Rooted Renegade. It is, you can just go to therootedrenegade.com and just pick it up there, or at Amazon or any other major book retailer. You can find it.
Congratulations on the instant bestseller.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah. And it's gotten awards. Like it's such a, I mean, it feels like the image I've always had for this book is like dandelion seeds spreading.
Yes.
And so it just brings me so much joy to hear the impact it's had for people. So I do hope folks will pick it up, and just if there are over 50 exercises in there, you can keep it on your nightstand. Some of my readers have said it's on their nightstand. So you can find out all about that at therootedrenegade.com. The information about my coaching practice you can also find at therootedrenegade.com.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned your clients have your book on their nightstand. Are these practices something that I want to look at before I go to bed? Or are these practices what I want to look at first thing in the morning?
So the way the book is structured, it walks you through this idea of creating an experience of rooted peace. And by that, I mean how you create the internal experience of peace, how you feel like you're living your purpose in the world and have an existential sense of peace, and then how you create a peaceful relationship with yourself and others. And so there's a range of exercises. There's a list of exercises you can look at any time in the book, but they're different. So some of the exercises are visualization, others are a journaling prompt, still others are something somatically to do. And so readers who keep it on their nightstand or have it heavily dog-eared do is like, oh, this is an exercise for when I'm feeling X. I want to remember to come back to this.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part of the book is a lot of somatic practices. So those are actually great to do before bed. And people have different styles, right? Some people like to journal in the morning. Some people like to journal before they go to bed. So, I mean, I trust folks to kind of use it as is most helpful to them. I think just knowing you can come back to it again and again, kind of whatever you're facing, to me feels delightful because it's like having a companion with you as you're confronting whatever you're up to or wanting more of.
Oh, well, you had me at rooted peace. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Rebecca. I have loved this conversation.
Thank you. It has been a delight. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.